I can swallow anything. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
How did you make your shakes to build size, and I guess your general thoughts on mass gainers? But I guess what will be more interest to the audience would be the shakes that you would build yourself concoctions to gain size.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I dated this girl when I was in medical school, and I was just really getting into bodybuilding, like, getting super obsessed with it. And she was anorexic. She didn't eat. She would eat maybe a half a meal a day. And, if you hang out with the person all day and they don't eat, or they don't want to go any place to eat, or they have no food in their house, you can starve as a bodybuilder. So what I would, back in the early 90s, they had these shakes. They came in like a bottle. You would just pop the top off. There was powder in there. You'd add water and shake it up. They were called Perfect 1100s. They were 1,100 calories. And it was like about 50 grams of protein. There was there was some fat in there, but it was mostly sugary carbs, that kind of stuff. And they put it this way: you would think they would taste good because it was like cake batter in there. But it was so sweet because there was so much. There was probably, who knows, like 150 grams of carbs in there for all I know. There was so many carbs in there that it was like nauseating almost. And I would just literally shake them up and I'd guzzle it down. And I would do that like 3 times, every 2-3 hours I was with her, because otherwise we didn't eat. I didn't eat. And I didn't want to lose, muscle. So I used to do those all the time. They killed my stomach. But you know what? It was better than not eating. So then once I got into, really becoming a real bodybuilder and, competing, and I realized that I couldn't eat enough food, I had to, create a way to drink the food. And tuna in a shake was intolerable for me. And I could swallow anything, but it was disgusting. I'm like, there's no reason to do this. So, and I've given this story a million times before, but I would put 12 whole eggs in a blender. I would actually heat them up in the microwave first, because I was paranoid about salmonella, which made it even more disgusting. And I would add a cup of uncooked oatmeal in there, which really, in hindsight, probably wasn't the best thing, because it kind of rips up your butt when you're pooping it out later in the day. But I throw that in there. I put a cup of like apple juice. I put like a packet of Metrex in there, which is about 40 grams of protein and some carbs in there. And I would blend this stuff up, and it would blend to the point of like, it was like spackle. It looked like that was the consistency. And I couldn't even put the top in the blender. And I've told the story a million times. So I'm not losing. I'm not like Greg Valentino. I'm not losing my mind. And I would fill it up, and the thing would be blending, and it would literally almost be coming over the top. And I turned the blender off, and I would literally grab the blender, because you couldn't pour this in a cup, because it was huge, this thing. And I would guzzle the whole thing down. And I would do that like twice a day. It was called my super shakes, I called them. And if you didn't just kind of like lean over the sink for about 20 minutes after you drank that, there's a very good chance you would throw them up, because it was just too much volume and it was too thick. But I learned to keep them down 95% of the time. If I threw it up, I would remake the shake and drink it again. And I did that for many years when I was like over 315, because I couldn't hold that weight any other way. I mean, that was a lot of protein, a lot of carbs, a lot of fat in there. Think about 12 whole eggs. But It was easy to get it down because I can swallow anything. And so if you have that ability to drink large amounts of fluid and it doesn't bother you, shakes can definitely help you gain weight for sure.
Your thoughts on people doing the keto diet while using Ozempic?
Yeah, I mean, you can use any diet you want. What Ozempic does, and I've explained this before, but it's worth repeating because a lot of people are asking questions. My friend Mike Popkin, who I went to visit the other day, was asking questions about it. I said, stop eating. I said, you eat fast food 3 times a day. That's why you're fat. I said Ozempic's not going to help that. Ozempic is a GLP-1 agonist. It's like glucagon-like peptide 1, which is something that's naturally released, okay, when you eat food. So when the gut is stretched, you release this GLP-1. It tells your brain you're not hungry. It slows your digestive tract down. By taking an analog of it called semaglutide, in the Ozempic form, tirzepatide, which is the Mounjaro form of it, it mimics that. So it slows your digestive tract and it makes you feel full longer. So if you eat your meal, you're not going to feel hungry an hour later like you normally would. It might take you 3 hours later to feel hungry. Now, in bodybuilders who eat, 5-6 times a day, it's great because you eat your meal, you're good between meals, you're not hungry, and then the next meal comes and you're ready to eat again. If you want to do a ketogenic diet, that's fine. If you want to do a diet that's like some carbs but low in carbs, it doesn't matter what your diet is. But when you take these GLP-1 agonists, you must. I tell everyone you should take a fiber supplement anyway, but you have to take one with this because if you don't, you will not poop and you'll get impacted and you might wind up in the hospital, having to get, some surgery to unstick your colon. Okay. So you need a fiber supplement that's going to push the food through and make sure it goes through, and gets out of your body because you can get backed up on these drugs. Now, other than that, they're pretty safe. Now you see these Hollywood people who take these drugs, they just don't eat at all. They eat like once a day and they lose weight, but they lose muscle and they lose fat and they look terrible. So they get that like skeletal look to their face because they're losing all their lean mass. And we know when you lower lean mass, you lower your metabolism. So for a physique athlete, that would be ridiculous to not eat at all. For these Hollywood people, they don't give a shit. They just want to be skinny so when they go on the red carpet, people are not calling them fatties. But there is a place for it, but you have to understand the limitations. Once again, you need to take a fiber supplement twice a day, like Fiberlize. You do need to eat, and you need to make sure, even if you're not hungry, that you do eat, because if you miss meals, you will lose muscle. It's not the drug that causes the muscle loss. It's the fact that you're not eating. That's what does it.
What's more important, total T or free T?
It's a loaded question. I'll tell you why. And I've studied this for a while. I was just explaining this to someone the other day. When you're natural, okay, and your body produces natural testosterone, let's say your levels are at 600 or something like that, and then you have a free testosterone, maybe it's like 100 something. It's really a percentage of your total that is your free, and that's what your body can utilize, okay? And then you have your sex hormone binding globulin levels, which are how much of the testosterone is inactivated, that you make. So, the lower the sex hormone binding globulin, theoretically, the more that's free and available, the better you'll grow. Unfortunately, most of these little ratios are all genetically determined, meaning, in my body, my testosterone might be 600 total, but I might have a much greater free testosterone that's utilized for building and repairing muscle, and I might have a much lower sex hormone binding globulin genetically, and that's why I respond better. Lavroni, all these guys that just are hyper responders. Now you throw in anabolics now, or even just to replace a hormone replacement dose, the level in your bloodstream is so much higher. So even if your total, let's say, goes up to 1,200, like mine does, I take 100 milligrams of testosterone a week, I have a 1,200, total testosterone. I don't know why it goes so high, because my body just utilizes, testosterone better than other people do. Just like I'm sure you'll give Lavroni 100 milligrams, he'd probably put on 30 pounds of muscle. So now when you look at the free testosterone levels, okay, it might be the exact same thing it was when you were at 200, a testosterone at 200. So it might still see 100, your free testosterone. So people think, well, that means I have the same amount of testosterone that's available for building. No, because it's a percentage of what your total is. So if my total is double what it was before, okay, and my free is the same, I have double the potential to build muscle now. Theoretically, it might even be more than that. Likewise, the sex hormone binding globulin might go up a little bit, but it's still, I have so much more available than I had before because I'm exogenously injecting that I'm going to grow fine. So the total free and sex hormone binding globulins not that accurate when we talk about exogenous sources of testosterone, whether it be TRT or an actually full-blown cycle. Once I see people on the only reason we use total testosterone for people who are on cycles is to see if their testosterone is actually real. Because I know guys that are on 1,000 milligrams a week, they go get a test and their total testosterone is 400. And they're like, how's that possible? I'm like, well, because your testosterone is probably fake. Okay, so don't worry so much about the free and the sex hormone binding globulin when you're on a cycle or you're on HRT. That's more relevant when you're just natural. Okay, I hope that differentiates it for you, because people get very hung up on those numbers, which are really irrelevant once you're on an exogenous source of it.
Have you ever done a peak week carb up with insulin yourself? If so, what did that look like specifically for you, since you were a 300-pounder? Did you look better peaking with insulin or without?
When I was using insulin off season, I used it pre-contest too, because I looked really well on it. Because we didn't test blood sugars back then, so I probably ran high blood sugars because I ate a lot of carbs, in the off season. And so pre-contest, I would just stay on the insulin protocol. I would lower it a little bit, but I would stay on it. I was doing at the time, Humulin R was available at the pharmacy without a prescription. Now it's called Novulin R. It's the same thing. It's like a semi-fast acting, so you get 2 peaks. So if you take 10 units in the morning, you get 5 units are released immediately, and then 2 hours later, another 5 units are released. So I would do 2 shots of that per day, essentially. I do 10 in the morning, and then 6 hours later, I would do another 8. And that was pretty much my protocol. And when I would carb up, I would continue doing it. And I definitely looked fuller. I think I had nice fullness and roundness. But at some point, it started to, I think, affect my midsection a little bit, and I didn't like the way it was looking, so I stopped doing it. And I stopped eating as many carbs at a certain point in my prep day. When I started adding a lot more fats to my diet, I wasn't doing as many carbs, and I didn't feel like I felt like my carb absorption was pretty good. Once again, I never tested blood sugar, so I never knew what my blood sugars were. But I just noticed when I wasn't eating an exorbitant amount of carbs like I was earlier in my career, because I wanted to be 315 pounds, I noticed that I carbed up okay, and my midsection looked better. So for me, it didn't work. I don't like to use insulin carbing. I don't like to carb guys up with insulin who are my clients, because I feel like it just adds like a watery look to them. Now, some people are just flat. They're just so flat all the time. They absolutely need it. And then some people that I work with actually have high blood sugars, and they need it to maintain blood sugar. If your blood sugar is not going high, then your body's producing enough insulin to absorb it. If you're running high blood sugars, especially fasting, then you're not absorbing your food, in which case you might want to do a long-acting, because long-actings are a little more forgiving. You take a long-acting and you forget about it. It lowers the blood sugar, but it's not giving you these highs and lows because it doesn't act quickly. So lately, I am much more akin to using the long-acting insulins like Lantus and Tresiba and Toujeo and some of the other ones, Novulin, and because they seem to be a little, like I said, if you go a little too much, it doesn't really matter because it's kind of working in the background, and it's helping your body. If you do a little too much, usually your body just won't produce as much of its own. Whereas if you take a fast-acting insulin, you do too much, your blood sugar is going low, and you're going to have to then overcompensate. And the problem with that is a lot of guys will overeat, and then they wake up the next morning and they look terrible. So you can make mistakes with the fast-acting, and that's why I don't like to risk it the last week before.
If having high fasting blood sugars causes deposits throughout your body, another question about keto, will going on a keto diet reverse or deplete those deposits?
I think he's saying that he's asking if his fasting blood sugars will be fixed by the insulin.
No, by going on a keto. Right. By the deposits caused by the high fasting blood sugar.
Oh, you mean the stuff, the damage that's been done in the past? I think that's what he's asking about. So I think what he's asking is if someone has been running high blood sugars for a while, and they got side effects from it, which would be deposits of sugar in the extremities and the kidneys, eyes. Could that be reversed by doing a ketogenic diet? No, because the problem is the ketogenic diet is not in other words, just because you're not eating a lot of carbs and your blood sugars may be normal, it's not going to extract what the damage that has been done to those organs or to the eyes or whatever. So you can't reverse that. You can just stop it from occurring. Now, the good thing is that the the accumulation of these, sugars, I guess you could say, in the extremities, in the eyes and stuff like that, in the organs, happens very, very slowly. Okay. So it takes a long time to accumulate enough, damage where you're not going to be able to see well, or you're not going to be able to, kidneys won't function well. We're talking about type 1 diabetics would take 20 years before they lose their kidneys if they don't control their blood sugar. However, the accumulation that occurs in the brain can slowly start killing off the neurons. And that's not good. So over the long term, before you realize you have dementia from that, you've already killed off, probably half your neurons in your brain. So we don't want to do that. We definitely don't want to do that. So getting control of your blood sugars early, when you first notice them, in other words, you're waking up in the morning, your fasting blood sugar is 99, it's 100, 101, 110. This is an indication that my body's not producing enough insulin. I better start taking some supplemental insulin so that long-term I don't accumulate side effects. Whatever little micro side effects you might have had are probably irrelevant at this point. It's not till you have it. Like if someone came to me and said, look, I've been diabetic for 20 years and I'm losing my vision and my kidneys is failing. You're not reversing that. You might stop it, but you're not reversing it. So the key is early detection.
Your favorite, it's a loaded question, your favorite and least favorite aspect of bodybuilding. So I don't know if he wants to talk about you as a competitor or when you look at the landscape of bodybuilding, what's your favorite and least aspects of bodybuilding?
What did he have? This is a homework assignment, Seth Garrett. I think the camaraderie is the best part. I used to love, back in the day, I used to go and travel to different gyms and train. Like sometimes on Saturday mornings, I would drive over to Strong and Shapely Gym, Bob Bonham's gym in Jersey, and I'd work out and I'd hang out with all those Jersey guys, and we'd all shoot the shit and train and spot each other, go out to eat after. I'd go out to Venice Gold's gym and I'd hang out with those guys out there. And I loved the camaraderie was great. I mean, sometimes I would meet people at Bev's gym from Jersey would come in, guys would come in from Delaware. They would just drive up and we'd all just hang out for the day. I remember back in the day, Mike Morris used to drive from, was he in Delaware? I think he was in Delaware or Delaware, Pennsylvania. He would drive up and just meet me, and we would just hang out and we'd have like lunch together, and just talk about bodybuilding. It was crazy. And that, I think, is the greatest part of bodybuilding, because we're all interested in the same thing. How can we build muscle? How can we look our best? What supplements can we take? What diet, protocols work? That's just the fun part. It's just hanging out with people that have the same interests as you do. Probably the crappy part is that, not everyone's going to win a show. And I think we all think in the back of our head somewhere when we start this process that we're going to be Mr. Olympia at some point. And there's a grim reality that most of us are not going to be Mr. Olympia. And a lot of us are not even going to be pro bodybuilders for that matter. Even though we're going to give 100% to this process and we're going to dedicate our life to it and we're going to put our bodies on the line for it, it's not going to be there. So you have to really love what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll be greatly disappointed. And I think, yes, are there politics in bodybuilding? Of course there is. There's politics in anything that gets subjectively judged by a bunch of people, because some people like certain looks over other looks, and that's just the way it goes, So it sucks about bodybuilding, but if you understand that it's a beauty contest at the end of the day, and it's not a race, who's the fastest, then you'll accept it. And if you love the sport enough, you won't care necessarily about the aspects of the sport that are not necessarily, something that can be subjectively, judged by who crosses the finish line first. That's frustrating for bodybuilders because they get off stage, they know they brought their best. They couldn't do anything better, and yet they still didn't win. And maybe the crowd thinks they should have won, and social media thinks they should have won, but they didn't. And they have to accept that. And that's the worst part of it, because you have to learn to be a good loser. And a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people just can't deal with losing. And they don't like it. And when they do lose and they think that they shouldn't have, it makes them want to quit. But I'm of the belief, if you really love what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, because you're doing what you love. And you don't have to be a winner in bodybuilding to make a good living from this sport. I proved that, right? I never turned pro. I never won the Olympia or any pro shows for that matter. I never won the Nationals or the USA. But I made a very good living. I'm still making a very good living from the sport, and I enjoy what I do. So you have to find your niche in what you're doing here and accept that and not be bitter about it, or you're going to be one of these guys like, Casey Viator or Mike Menser, who allowed the fact that they didn't win an Olympia because they thought it was politically motivated, ruin their whole life. And that's just not acceptable. So make sure you understand what you're getting involved with when you get into bodybuilding.